On Overdrive today, we check out what's new in the updated Tata Safari, take a ride in the Triumph Scrambler400X and dish out some donuts in a Mercedes W203 C200 with Bad Boi Drifts. Hello and welcome to Overdrive. I am Soini. The Tata Motors flagship SUV, the Safari, has been revamped. It now sports a very striking design. It also has plenty of attractive features and a robust safety package. Is it the SUV that you've been looking for? Let's find out.
Tata has been revamping its SUV lineup lately. We've seen the stunning new Nexon, the Nexon EV. There's also a Punch EV on the cards, which is likely to have a more distinctive design than its ICE counterpart. But what's creating headlines right now is the Safari and its 5-seater variant, the Harrier, both of which have been updated for 2023. For now, let's start with the most striking feature on the new Safari, its design. The 2023 Tata Safari has some exciting updates. The larger grille and its single-piece design compared to the Harrier add an imposing stance, while the subtle Safari branding on the doors with an updated new logo adds a touch of class. I'm particularly impressed with the design of these 19-inch wheels. They are not only aerodynamic but also add a very nice and sporty touch. The straight lines of the bodywork emphasize the Safari's upright stance and length and give it more distinction over the new Harrier. The full-width LED strip, vertically stacked headlamps and the two-pot fog lamps give the front end a commanding presence. The design of the rear maintains a heady balance between sophistication and ruggedness. The horizontal lines and the vertical sculptural elements look good, and there's a distinctive light signature across the rear compared to the Harrier. Step inside and the 2023 Safari continues to impress. It still has that big, spacious cabin that we were impressed with in the past as well, but now these inlay panels, for example, they get this pinstriping, which is a page straight out of the luxury book. There are plenty of screens in this cabin. A 12.3-inch central infotainment screen and a 10.25-inch instrumentation cluster immediately attract attention. And then you notice that even the terrain mode selector has a tiny screen akin to a smartwatch. Soft touch materials impart a premium feel, and these screens, along with the electronic touch controls for the AC and a 4-spoke digital steering with an illuminated logo, instantly tell you that this is a high-tech cockpit. Tata emphasizes safety with 6 standard airbags and a 7th available in the top trims. The Boss mode for the rear left passenger adds convenience for those who are chauffeur-driven. Now, talking of the connectivity options, you have the ALEXA car to home functionality, which is very different than the remote functionality that a lot of other car makers are offering. What that means is, with this device you can communicate with the compatible ALEXA devices back at home. So as you're arriving at home, you can simply ask the coffee maker to start making coffee, or pre-cool the house, pre-cool the room that you want to get into, or start the lights, all those kind of things. So this is the better tech, and I'm glad that some car maker, at least at this particular price point, is making it accessible. Kudos to Tata for that. Connectivity is on point then, and so are the creature comforts. Rear window blinds and ventilated seats even in the second row create a comfortable atmosphere to be in. There is ambient lighting that also extends to the panoramic roof, and the roof itself can be opened using voice commands, including some interesting ones. Khul ja sim sim.
All right, sunroof khol rahe hain.
So it can also understand different languages. 6 languages for now. They want to expand it to multiple languages from India. When it comes to driving dynamics, the new Safari has made improvements in this regard as well. We had a complaint about the heavy steering feel, especially in the city environment when it came to the previous Harrier or the Safari. Now that has been addressed with 3 new driving modes. You have the Eco, City and Sport modes, which are obviously going to make differences to the way the powertrain responds, but these also make changes to the steering. The Eco and the Comfort mode keep the steering conveniently light for city use, and then the Sport mode weighs it up quite nicely, so when you are at speed, it feels more in control. The Sport mode also enhances throttle and engine response, particularly useful on mountain roads and inclines, even for non-enthusiastic drivers. Now there are 3 driving modes to choose from. There is normal for tarmac, there is wet for the slippery surfaces, and then there is rough for rocky, gravelly, dirt surfaces, etc. Now there is no all-wheel drive option even now. This is still a front-wheel driven car, so all these modes are a function of the traction control system. But even in the normal mode, the traction control is working so well. I've not even put it in the rough, and this is where I'm driving right now, and it just does its job quite well. The tires are so well spec'd, the suspension is so well tuned that you don't really break traction all that easily. So even in the normal mode, I'm able to do all of this. Of course, with the rough road, the traction control becomes a little more lenient, but even in the normal mode, it's not too intrusive. It might be a placebo effect, but I think that the rough road mode also makes the brake feel a little easy. It feels more progressive. Apart from the airbags I mentioned previously, the safety kit is well spec'd, and there are now some additions too. Now the Safari and the Harrier got ADAS functionality a little while back, but the updated versions now also get adaptive cruise control, which means it will seamlessly match the speed of the vehicle in front of you irrespective of what speed you have set. But what they've also done is, when the vehicle in front of you starts moving or accelerating, there's a 3-second delay before which the Safari will start accelerating. And this is essentially a safety buffer, because in India we've often seen pedestrians, animals, two-wheelers, etc. jump into every little space that's available. So to avoid any mishap from happening, they've engineered that 3-second delay before the Safari also starts accelerating to again catch up with the vehicle in front. In panic situations, the vehicle uses automatic emergency braking and includes features such as free brake fill as well. Even in non-emergency braking, the Safari activates the hazard lights when the rear radars detect a tailgating vehicle. Some features like lane keep assist will be added to the production model. The Fiat-sourced 170 PS diesel engine is inherently a bit noisy and unrefined, but there are no pedal vibrations to complain about in this Tata. It delivers decent performance with a punchy mid-range. There's some turbo lag, but it's manageable, and the crisp response of the sport mode shadows this shortcoming. You have the option of a 6-speed manual, you also have the automatic transmission, and as I mentioned before, you get this shift-by-wire tech for the selector. You also get paddle shifters behind the wheel, which will enhance the overall driving experience when you want to take manual control. Now, this isn't the quickest of gearboxes, however, it's not something that I will complain about because the shift times are respectable. Now, ride quality or good ride quality was always a big talking point for the Harrier and the Safari in its respective segments, and that continues with the new vehicle as well. But they've also tweaked the suspension to now ensure that the uprated wheel sizes, especially the 19-inch on the Safari, doesn't lead to any bone-jarring ride on our Indian driving conditions. Of course, the sharper bumps, they still are received with a slight bit of firmness. You still feel a bit of it in the cabin, but not something that you will complain about often. And most of the poor road conditions that India will throw at the car, it will handle it quite nicely. So with the striking new design, the updated features, the better safety package that it is now, the Safari is now a more promising product, a more worthy product to be the flagship for Tata. And it's evident how much effort Tata has put in all these respects, even though this is just a midlife makeover. So kudos to Tata for that. All this effort is evident in making the Safari a better experience overall than before.
At the launch earlier this week, Tata Motors also revealed that the Safari and the Harrier have received 5-star ratings at the global NCAP crash test ratings. This, of course, is a big feat for the already sturdy brand. We'll take a very quick break here on the show, but coming up on the other side, we'll get you acquainted with the Triumph Scrambler400X. Welcome back, you're watching Overdrive. Just earlier this year, the Triumph Bajaj Alliance led to the launch of the Speed 400 in the small medium capacity motorcycle space, and now the second version of this motorcycle has launched, the Scrambler400X. Now it promises to have a lot more versatility. Let's get Chris to do all the talking.
Now when it comes to small to medium capacity motorcycles, well, in the 400cc space, we've seen what the Triumph Bajaj Alliance has brought to the table earlier this year in the form of the Speed 400. Well, that is a really nice roadster motorcycle, but now we are out here with the second installation or the second variation of that same motorcycle. This is the new Triumph Scrambler 400X. Well, as you can see, it looks like a true blue Scrambler, and it keeps with the design ethos of the bigger 900 and the 1200cc Scramblers from Triumph. Yes, it is packing the same engine. Of course, the dynamics have altered a bit as well, and this motorcycle costs 30,000 more than the Speed 400. Now, what exactly does this bike offer? Let's get right to it.
In comparison to the Speed 400, the Scrambler 400 gets a bigger 19-inch front wheel, block pattern MRF tires, a new wide handlebar, knuckle guards, a headlight guard, tank grips, a split seat, different quarter panels, and an upswept double barrel exhaust. Then you get a more off-road friendly 43mm big piston fork up front with a rear monoshock, both of which offer 150mm of travel. The semi-digital display is carried over from the Speed 400, and the only added feature that the Scrambler 400X gets is the switchable ABS, which is basically essential for all your off-road riding, and it's a feature that the Speed 400 misses out on. The Scram 400 looks and feels substantially bigger than the Speed 400, and with its steeper rake, the increased trail, and with more ground clearance on offer, well, there's a lot more purposefulness to it as well. The Scrambler 400X is powered by the same 398cc liquid-cooled single from the Speed 400, which pumps out an identical 40 PS and 37.5 Nm of max power and torque. Now, the engine is just as free-revving as it was before, and it remains composed at pretty much all speeds. But the 9 kg increase in overall curb weight over the Speed 400, well, on account of the bigger wheel up front, the tires, the chassis, the tubular steel frame, well, it all means that this motorcycle isn't as quick off the line as the Speed 400, and it lacks that same surge of urgency as the other motorcycle just as soon as you whack open the throttle. The slipper clutch assures you that all your gear changes are jerk free, and the 6-speed gearbox from the Speed 400 makes an appearance here too.
Alright, so a big plus point over the Speed 400, well, with this Scrambler 400 has to be the increased ground clearance, and of course the seat height, which has increased to 830mm. But as you can see, for a person of my stature, swinging a leg over the motorcycle, well, not a real hassle out there. And yep, well, motorcycle upright, getting both my feet planted on the ground, 5.9 frame, of course, fairly easy, not a difficult task, and it feels very easy between your legs. I mean, once you're off-road on these slight dirt trails, tackling dirt trails, not a hassle at all. And what aids that has to be this new handlebar, because this, unlike the Speed 400, which comes with an aluminum handlebar, well, this one is a tubular steel handlebar, which helps with, it makes it more durable, more rigid, and more stable off-road as well.
The suspension setup on the Scrambler 400X is awesome off-road, and it manages to keep all the sharpness of bumps at bay, which means, well, it's gonna be awesome for a city like Mumbai as well. This motorcycle is designed to allow you to stand up and ride with utmost ease. The hybrid perimeter steel frame with its bolt-on subframe is just so brilliant and forgiving. It allows the motorcycle to be so compliant with whatever you ask of it, with the least amount of effort. All while that lovely tractable motor backs you up with power all the way. It's something that will inspire confidence in both expert and novice riders, and that's the beauty of it. Like the Speed 400, there also is, however, one design aspect with the Scrambler 400X that I found a bit odd.
So although the Scrambler 400X comes with a nice bash plate, as you can see, one still major point of concern for me has to be that coolant reservoir, which is located just behind it, if you can make out right here. Well, if you hit a hard trail, if you jump the bike, land awkwardly on a rock or something, and for some godforsaken reason you happen to damage the bash plate, well, that reservoir is going to be in jeopardy. So for 2,62,000 rupees ex-showroom, of course, what does the Triumph Scrambler 400X bring to the table? Well, of course, in terms of competition, it is a lot more expensive than something, say, like the Scram 411 and the Himalayan 411. But then again, it also is a lot cheaper than something like the 390 Adventure. And as a package overall, it still makes a very compelling case for itself because, well, it has everything that you would want from a motorcycle when you're riding off-road, on these light trails, on the road as well, like switchable traction control, the ABS, you get slipper clutch, ride-by-wire, and just as a whole, well, it all comes together really well for this motorcycle, and it really rocks the boat in this Scrambler, the 400cc segment as it stands.
If you're the adventurous sorts, then the Scrambler 400X will certainly cater to the enthusiastic side of you. We'll take a very quick break here on the show, but coming up on the other side, we'll tell you how to drift in India at affordable prices with Bad Boi Drifts. The kind of donuts you like on a weekend versus the kind of donuts I like on a weekend. You can't be an auto nut and not feel your heart thump at the sound of screeching tires, smell of burning rubber and sight of sliding cars. While it all looks cool and thrilling, there's a lot of practice and discipline that goes into mastering the art of drifting. And it all starts with learning how to do donuts. And that is what brings me to the Raymond Ground in Thane over a weekend of the Festival of Speed organized by Bad Boi Drifts in collaboration with B&D Motorsports. Ingredients for a perfect donut: lots of empty space, tires for when the ones which are given to you are completely shredded, a cone, and of course the most important one would be a perfect rear-wheel drive drift car. Now let's check out what car I will be driving. This is a 20-year-old heavily modified Mercedes-Benz W203 C200 with a 2-litre 4-cylinder M111 supercharged petrol engine with power bumped up to 180 horsepower. It's a 6-speed manual gearbox and has a stock clutch pedal. The car has been stripped of cabin material that isn't needed, including the boot lid, rear windows and doors. This purpose-built drift car is more than capable of handling my rookie mistakes, is what I'm told.
Let's go. I'll just show you how to initiate the drift.
Okay.
And at what point do you need to initiate the drift? Okay. So we'll just go circles first to know the cones.
Okay.
You just need to press the clutch. Okay. Initiate the drift. And just control it. You see? If I'm going too wide, you have to initiate it and then hold on to it. So it's your turn. Are you ready?
Oh my god, I hope I'm ready. I'm not sure. But I am. For starters, I must say I'm good with understanding the theory of how to let go of the clutch, go flat out on the throttle to let the rear slide out, and let go of the steering wheel to let it counter steer. Keep steady pressure on the throttle to hold the donut. But applying what you're told is far more difficult, as you can imagine. And given I'm usually a super careful driver on public roads, the idea of flooring the throttle completely just wasn't sitting well with me. This skill requires a lot of practice, and with the 15 minutes I had with the car, I slowly started gaining confidence in my machine and managed to slide the rear out a few times before it was time to hand the car to someone else. You see, Mudit Grover, who holds the national record for the longest drift of 19 minutes and 20 seconds in a drift spec W203 C-Class, runs Bad Boi Drifts, that's offering enthusiasts an affordable gateway to the drifting world. Through 2 training programs, you can learn the basics of how to hold drifts and later slide through high, medium and low speed transitions. While Mudit had lost his voice while trying to stay audible over the loud exhaust sounds of the drift cars at the Festival of Speed over the weekend, I caught up with Vikas Tanwar, a professional drifter and instructor at Bad Boi Drifts, to know a bit more about the drifting culture. I see the drifting culture has built up a lot. I see a lot of Instagram reels where people are doing funky or, drifts in donuts and stuff like that. So when has this culture picked up and how big is it today?
I would say last 2-3 years it started. So Bad Boi Drifts like a 1.5 years old now, and we started doing our own training. Mudit went somewhere else, I went somewhere else. We did the training, and then you learned it. And here you had to build cars, so we found cars like these. These are old C200.
Yeah.
This one is a W203, which is a 2004 model, right? So and these are manual. So being manual helps you drift better. And we modified these cars.
Yeah.
The differential is welded. We have got short and pulley. We have reduced the weight. A lot of things that we have done so to make it more powerful and to be able to drift.
And tell me a bit about the packages that Bad Boi Drifts is offering.
So we are doing 2 packages. One is rookie, one is semi-pro. So rookie is only about donuts, figure of 8, initiating in the drift, controlling the drift, angles, right? And direction changes when we are doing figure of 8.
Right.
And then semi-pro, apart from the rookie, has track. So wherein we make a layout of track and we try and train people to go sideways on the entire track in in drift competitions worldwide. So they have to try and maintain and change angles, high-speed drifting, slow initiation, high speed into slow speed, those kind of initiations. So that becomes part of the semi-pro.
Okay. And finally, of course, safety is of utmost importance, and we tell all our viewers to be safe, which is why we see that this is a controlled environment and you have trained professionals teaching. Do tell our audience why it's very important to do this in safe spaces.
See, normally people find it to be very thrilling, right? And I've seen people who would learn here and then try it on the road, which I say is completely not, you should not do that.
Yeah.
Because here is a controlled environment. You go wrong, you only hit cones and tires, right?
Yeah.
But there you might damage the car, do a lot of things. And safety becomes more important because in these kind of cars, you end up hitting the car a lot. You end up pushing the car a lot.
Yeah.
So it becomes a little unsafe. So a safe environment for any motorsports is required. So like autocross is happening. It's on a fixed track. You should not take these lessons or learnings to the road.
Right. Thanks so much, Vikas. I've had a really good afternoon, good Sunday spent, I would say, right here. Thanks a lot.
You need a little more practice. Come for our next session.
With that, we've run out of time on this week's edition of Overdrive. But remember, you can stay in touch with the team through our various social media platforms. And you can write to us on YouTube as well. We'll see you next week. Until then, drive and ride safe.